This image shows a terminal running MSF Console, the command line interface for the Metasploit penetration testing framework. Inside it, an Nmat scan, a network mapping tool used to discover active hosts and services, is executing against a target IP address. Finding an open port and delivering a payload through it is how an attacker successfully opens the front door to a system. But getting inside rarely grants immediate control. An initial exploit usually results in a connection running under a restricted service account, like www data or a standard user profile. These accounts are securely fenced off. They cannot read sensitive system files, modify network configurations, or create new administrative credentials. Worse, the initial connection back to the attacker, a raw reverse shell, is highly volatile. If the attacker accidentally presses Ctrl-C, or if the network stutters for even a moment, the shell collapses, the connection drops, and they are immediately locked out again. Breaching the firewall provides a foothold, but a fragile one. Unless the attacker can quickly lock down the connection and plot a path to higher permissions, that initial access is practically useless. To fix this, attackers upgrade their crude shell into an interactive TTY. A TTY, or teletypewriter, is a standard terminal interface that properly handles user inputs and system outputs. By executing a short Python command to spawn a pseudo-terminal, the attacker forces the target machine to treat the connection like a legitimate user sitting at a physical keyboard. They then press Ctrl-Z to push the process into the background. While the process is hidden, they disable their own terminal's echo settings so their keystrokes aren't printed twice. Finally, they bring the target shell back to the foreground, fully stabilized. The temporary exploit is now a permanent, structurally sound command channel. With the connection secured, the attacker stops looking outward at the network perimeter. They can safely begin hunting through the local file system for internal flaws. The strategy now shifts from noisy, aggressive external hacking to quiet, methodical internal reconnaissance. The goal is no longer breaking in, but moving up. Attackers rely on automated scripts like linps to audit the system's internal landscape. Linps is the Linux Privilege Escalation awesome script, a tool that rapidly scans thousands of local configurations to find pathways to higher access. linps prints its findings to the terminal using a strict visual hierarchy. It highlights the most dangerous system flaws in a glaring red-on-yellow text, signaling a high probability that the discovered path leads directly to administrative control. The script is hunting for misplaced trust. Specifically, it looks for violations of the least privilege principle. Least privilege is a security rule stating that a process or user should only be given the exact permissions necessary to perform its intended job, and absolutely nothing more. When a system administrator grants excessive permissions to a standard file, they create an internal bypass. Escalating privileges relies entirely on finding and exploiting these internal administrative oversights. In this system, the enumeration tool flags a specific vulnerability. The standard Linux find binary is operating with an SUID bit set. SUID, or Set Owner User ID, is a special file permission. When applied, it allows a standard user to execute the program with the absolute privileges of the file's creator, usually the root administrator. Assigning this trust to a basic search utility means anyone running the find command momentarily borrows the highest system clearance. This architectural flaw mirrors highly destructive vulnerabilities like CVE 2026-3888, also known as the Janitor's trick. A CVE, or Common Vulnerability and Exposure, is a publicly disclosed cybersecurity flaw. In the Janitor's trick, an attacker replaces a temporary directory at the exact millisecond it is deleted, tricking low-level system components into executing malicious files as root. Both cases demonstrate the same structural failure. Once an attacker breaches the external firewall, the system's own trusted, built-in tools become the very weapons used to compromise it. To weaponize the misconfigured find command, attackers reference GTFO bins. GTFO bins is a curated, public index of legitimate Unix binaries that can be abused by an attacker to bypass local security restrictions. The attacker types a specific string into their terminal, find:/bin/sh/. This command tells the utility to search the current directory and then immediately execute a new system shell. Because find has the SUID bit set, the new shell it spawns inherits root permissions. The restricted standard user effectively pulls top-tier administrative authority directly out of a mundane utility. Executing the fatal exploit requires less than 10 keystrokes. The actual danger lies in the methodical mapping of the system and the discovery of the structural flaw. On the attacker's screen, the terminal prompt shifts from a $sign, the symbol for a standard user, to a hash mark. That hash mark indicates absolute system compromise. With root access, the attacker is no longer constrained by the operating system. They can exfiltrate sensitive databases, read restricted password files, install persistent backdoors, and delete the system logs to erase all forensic evidence of their presence. The attack chain is complete. The attacker scanned the perimeter, delivered a payload, stabilized a fragile reverse shell, mapped the internal environment, and finally abused a misconfigured utility to escalate their permissions. A hardened external firewall keeps out the noise, but network security is only as strong as its internal architecture. If a system blindly trusts its own components, an attacker only needs to get inside once to take the entire network.